Mattias Thedens, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
So we're at the Folkealarm Folk Music Showcase Festival. How are you enjoying it so far?
It's been really great. I love to reconnect with so many people that we've met a couple times now from Norway and from around the world, and it's been a real pleasure to just kind of like keep building those relationships and meet all our good old friends, both in the business and just in the music scene in general. So it's been a great time. I think last year might have had a little bit of corona fears, but this year there's definitely a light and happy vibe around it. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, and your music isn't very corona friendly.
No, it's not. It is not.
Because you're here with a folk rock project called Gangar.
That's correct.
That might have been one of your first concerts when you did a warm up thing for Hoven.
Yeah.
Right there in this venue, maybe a year and a half ago or something.
Yes.
Would that be your first gig?
Second gig, yeah,
right.
Actually. Yeah, we played at a small local festival called Eufemia-dagene in Gamlebyen in the beginning of August, and then end of September last year we did warm up for our heroes, Hoven.
Yeah. No, that was quite funny, because you have the same lineup as well, the same instruments.
Yeah.
So it's almost like seeing a younger version of them in a way.
Yeah, well, they actually started with trumpet, and we didn't go for that.
Yeah.
Ear damage and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well. I hope you're wearing earplugs. Because yeah, exactly. Yeah. I saw your gig last night as well, and I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. We're also having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, either you're having fun or you're good actors, So, but I'm very fascinated by folk rock as a thing. So I'd like to hear your thoughts about it now that you've been in the business, so to speak, for a little while.
Yeah.
But before we go into that, could you just maybe give us a quick introduction to you as a musician? How did you first get into folk music, and how did you end up playing rock and roll?
Yeah. My name is Mattias Thedens, and I'm from Oslo, Norway. So I'm from the town, which means that I have access to a lot of different dance groups and folk kind of places where you could play folk music from different areas. You're not confined to one area. So I grew up dancing.
So in Norway, it's all about areas.
Yeah.
You usually play the music from the area that you grew up, or your family history or whatever.
Yeah. And my family history is from Germany and America, so I have I'm not committed to any one area.
But your parents are into folk music?
Yes, they are. So that's kind of how I started with dancing when I was about 4, and I kept doing that for a long time, and then I still dance a lot, but more just for fun now. And then I started playing violin at around 9, and I started with folk music. I didn't do classical first and then find out, So I was folk music from the start, and then I did kind of branch into a little Suzuki just to kind of clean up my technique. Played with the orchestra, just continued to kind of try to play better, you know.
Yeah.
But it was always folk music was the focus. Probably from when I was 15 until I was I guess 20 actually. I focused mainly on American old time music.
Yeah, because that's how I first discovered you.
Yeah, that was where I was active first. So I was a old-time fiddler long before I was a folk rocker.
Yeah.
But I kept that going for a while, but then I started at NMH, the music conservatory in Oslo, and then I just kind of delved back into the Norwegian stuff and just kind of didn't really come out from that again. And the pandemic also confined me a little bit to Norwegian music. But last summer I actually made it to the US and taught at an old-time music camp in North Carolina, which was great, and caught up with a lot of friends. And, the music's very... I love the music still, and also we'll be playing at Folk Alliance in Kansas in February, and then I'll be able to see some of my old-time friends again. I'm really excited. Really happy about that.
Can you imagine, yeah. As I told you, I'm a big old-time fan, although I don't know too much about... I'm familiar with the big names like Bruce Molsky and Brittany Hayes and these people, but I'd love to dig deeper at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
And as I told, I have a dream of learning to play the clawhammer banjo, which you have to teach me someday.
Yeah, I will. Sure, definitely.
But after like you started the conservatory, as you said, like what kind of traditions or what kind of music inside the Norwegian tradition did you focus on?
Yeah. So when I first started, I was very into music from Setlists and the Agder
Which is Hardanger
region.
fiddle territory.
Yeah, Hardanger fiddle territory. And also on the regular violin, I loved playing gammelpols from Røros.
Okay.
So that was kind of like my things. And then at some point, Steinar Ofsdal had a really good seminar on tonality and played a recording of Haukebuen. And then I was like, I didn't look back. And then the country shut down, so I was sitting on my couch upstairs at home just learning Hauk tunes every day for like the lockdown. And that's how I kind of ended up with Telemark. And I still do mostly that. I've played a lot from Valdres, but yeah, mostly Telemark.
And like, as I said, like I first recognized your name from you as an old-time musician. And then all of a sudden, like, I heard about this, like, folk rock band who's supposed to, like, do a split gig with Hovendroven. And, like, I always thought... I even used to think Hovendroven was a bit, like, cheesy or whatever. Because I'd only heard, like, bits and pieces here and there. And, like, all my previous encounters with so-called folk rock had been, like, mixed. Like, me personally speaking. Because it's just so easy for the whole thing to get cheesy. But then I actually experienced Hovendroven live at the concert, and like and I realized it's not cheesy, it's fun.
Yes,
that's when it works anyway for me. Like I find if folk rock gets too pretentious, or maybe that's the wrong word, or like too serious.
Oh yeah.
Then that can be a problem, like because it's a bit silly in the core. It's a bit silly.
Yes, and we have a lot of fun with what we do, even though we take it extremely seriously, and like we take pride in our hard work, and like the music is focused. We want to make good music. But however, there's just no way you can't giggle at the fact that you're playing gent riffs over a silly little waltz, you know? There's just no way that isn't funny. So as soon as people are like, I play folk rock, I'm like headbanging over a Rhinelander. I mean, come on, it's fun, it's funny, like this is not supposed to happen, but it happens, and it's fun. Like,
how did the band get started?
Well, so obviously Hovendroven was an inspiration. I saw them for the first time in Osafestivalen in 2019, but I think it was very subconscious because
and for those who aren't familiar with that band, like who are Hovendroven?
Yeah, Swedish folk rock legends who really toured the world. And they've been active since the 90s, and they just celebrated their 30th anniversary. Great guys, great friends. Their their fiddle player is actually the producer of our EP coming up.
Right, cool.
And they're good friends, very nice people, and great musicians. We saw them at Osafestivalen in 2019. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. So I loved that, but I didn't think about it too much. I just loved it, and I think probably half a year later, we were supposed to plan our student folk music festival called Youthful in Oslo, and the teacher recommended, why don't you guys like do a concert where you just put together crazy constellations and play folk music, but just like in different contexts, and just take it so far out of the box as you can, and make your Hardanger fiddle teacher's hairs stand up on his neck, and all. It's just like go completely crazy. And I think probably subconsciously it wasn't like a conscious I want to make Hovendroven 2.0. That's not it wasn't. I asked my closest friends who played music and I knew were rocking musicians, and it kind of fell into place. But I probably wouldn't have asked a saxophone player if I hadn't heard Hovendroven and saw that it worked. It was a possibility, but so it kind of fell together beautifully, and it was great the way that came together, because these were all really close friends of mine. Like I knew them really well, but they didn't know each other that well. Not all of them, at least. So it was just kind of like you could kind of watch all these friendships kind of creating around you, because you know everyone, but they're all trying to figure it out. Nice, so it was a great process.
But did any of the other guys have did they know anything about folk music prior to this project?
I would say very little, to be honest, because it's kind of hard to know what folk music is in a way, because
or traditional music.
Yeah, I mean, it's music of the people, but it's hard to describe it without like kind of seeing it and kind of being there. And a lot of the folk music scene that we operate in is very invisible to the common eye. You know, it happens kind of like you need to know, and
it's
once
kind of
you know,
almost like an underground kind of vibe to it.
it's like once you know, then you know. Then
Yeah.
if you know, you can dance every night of the week and all that. But they didn't know much about it at all, so it was interesting to kind of like those first rehearsals where we're just trying to pick up the chords and find out what the form of this piece was or whatever we were working on. It was really interesting, and now that like over 1 year, the growth is amazing, and now they all love going to like folk music parties and try to dance, and they're getting pretty good at dancing too. So yeah, they're definitely invested in it, and I love that. It's genuine interest, and yeah, they're curiosity. So I appreciate that. You know, it means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Kind of me showing them the world I grew up in, and them appreciating it is awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Huh. But did you have did you listen to a lot to rock music before starting this project?
I haven't ever really been like a super rock head. I grew up, listening to, the Beatles and then Michael Jackson, you know, kind of Jimi Hendrix a lot, The Police, Sting, and I listened to kind of like different stuff, lots of The Police. I also had an AC/DC phase just a couple of years back, like in high school.
Everyone has.
Oh my god! And then so like I like rock and roll, but I didn't really like invest in it. I thought a lot of it was kind of like cheesy. Like a lot of the newer rock, I think, is kind of like, eh. I like the AC/DC kind of like gritty, just like straightforward.
Yeah.
Like we'll play 3 chords, but we'll play them really good.
Yeah, some of the stuff you're doing, like fairly heavy influences, like some of the riffs and like the really low notes, and it's almost like, I don't know, like it's a bit 80s rock in there, and also a bit like almost Meshuggah-ish, or like very like rhythmically.
Yes.
Which is really fun.
It is. So our main inspirations, we write in our bio is Hovendroven, the AC/DC, and Meshuggah.
Okay.
So we have the sort of rockin' chords, and we have the concept of Hovendroven.
Yeah.
Just as a foundation, it's the same concept. And then we have the rhythmical and kind of maybe more modern sound of Meshuggah. So it's an interesting combination, but we really want to keep our show fun and friendly, you know. Yeah. So like, because even though we do super heavy riffs and like super mean chords, we still want to have a smile on our face and have it be fun music, not like, ooh, these guys love death, you know. Yeah.
I see what you mean. Because playing this kind of music, it's all about how you present it on stage, which I suppose must have been a learning curve for, I don't know, like you guys. Like I can just imagine like coming from playing Hardanger fiddle tunes and that kind of environment, and then all of a sudden you're supposed to be like a rock star or whatever.
I think that learning curve was kind of like very steep in a way but I don't think I never stood still during a concert. Like I was always up there. Of course I've like learned a lot of things on the way, but the energy has always been high. It's just kind of like, how do you convey that energy? How do you communicate with an audience what you want to achieve? So probably become more mature, but I think there was a lot of stage presence that was kind of bottled up, that once I had the chance to just like boom.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of Hardanger fiddle is sitting alone with your fiddle, and you know.
Yeah, and if the audience, if they don't connect, you can always just stay in your little world, and and you're safe. Like
you're safe. Yeah.
But like when you're putting yourself out there like that, like I couldn't do it, but
I think anyone can do it. But yeah, I think just being able to convey that you're not afraid of making a fool of yourself. You're not taking yourself seriously.
Yeah.
Of course I take myself seriously, and we all do, but just to show that we're here to have fun, we're here to give you guys a good time, and we're not here to be Mr. Cool and, you know, like,
No.
look at us. It's more about just sharing a party and yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, it's easier said than done, and I think a lot of my stage presence comes from watching rap concerts.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been to tons of rap concerts, and there you have one guy by themselves.
Oh,
You
must be
know.
terrifying. Like,
Oh yeah, for
those
thousands
guys.
of people. I'm
So
so
it's
lucky.
almost like a stand-up comedy.
Oh yeah, sure. You need to have the timing of stand-up comedians, and some
Yeah.
of my teachers have recommended like, oh, you should talk to a stand-up comedian, you know, just to
Yeah.
perfect your show, or talk to what you call a director or something, you know.
Yeah, like choreographer almost.
Yeah, definitely.
But is it something you work on together, like in the band, like
Yeah.
like on stage, or obviously I can see that you have some things like worked out.
Yeah. So I think before Osa Festival, we played there just a couple of weeks back, and yeah, then we had a whole rehearsal dedicated to choreography. Just like, how do we act on stage to kind of like make a point out of our music, you know, like, so if we have something that we play that we think is super cool, and that we know is super cool, and it sometimes gets a great reaction and sometimes doesn't get a reaction at all, why is that happening? If we're playing just well, probably because we're acting a certain way on stage. If we're like, as soon as we get to like the climax of a musical piece, and we're just like, whew, nice, good, we're there,
Yeah.
probably losing a bunch of people, and everyone else breathes out. But like, if you kind of like, bam, like at the top, and if we coordinate headbanging and stuff like that, then you really are kind of like making it easy for the audience to latch onto the music, latch onto the dancing. So we want to keep working at it, but we don't want to force it either, you know. It has to be natural, but we do have some things that we'll hang on to and try to do, like on time with the music.
And yeah, you've also been playing a good few shows now this last year.
Yeah.
So you, I imagine you had some opportunities to like test out different things, like what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
As well.
We had some kind of like, now every gig is important, of course, but like there's some kind of like concerts where you have your shoulders are you're a little more relaxed in a way. It's not a showcase situation. It's not like a mega festival with thousands of people.
Yeah, you can afford to like take some risks.
Yeah, sure. We can test different set lists. So last summer, or this summer, I guess, or summer 2022, we played a few gigs during the start of the summer and tested a couple different set lists, so that when we got to July and started traveling internationally, then we had our set, and we knew it so well, and we just drove through it, and it worked really well. That was a problem once we started like playing again this fall. Like, let's change the set list, and everyone was just like, you know, you're kind of following the wrong cues. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because the set list is probably very important in those kinds of gigs. Like
those are like some of the more heated discussions we'll have.
Yeah.
Like, which song should we open with?
Yeah,
and it's really interesting.
What's your strategy for like an opening song? Do you want like, don't you hit them hard right out of the gates, or?
Well, that depends. That's the question. Like, if you're playing late at night and you have had a super awesome band playing ahead of you and they're ready to go. There's like, the band before you is really cool. They've danced, they're having a party, but now they're ready to take it up a notch. Probably start with a hard hitter and just hit them in the face.
Yeah.
But if you're playing at a festival where maybe the previous concert was seated or something, it was a calmer act. People are not ready to party yet. People need to be invited up. You might want to start with something a little more
that's a good
friendly.
point,
But it's really difficult, and I mean, ideally we'd have multiple set lists for multiple occasions. Like, okay, we're playing at a metal festival, boom. Playing at a rock festival, folk festival, age groups, you know. But we try to kind of like figure out as we go.
And like, I find it interesting that you have managed to play so many gigs without releasing an album yet, because at the time of this episode airing, you will have released you've just released your first EP.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But like, that's not usually how we do it in the folk scene anyway. Like, it's all about like recording something and then using that as usually you don't make any money out of that either. Like it's usually this project to get the gigs.
Yeah, it's a business card.
Yeah,
right?
but the problem is that sometimes you get so eager to get that album down so you can go touring that maybe the music would have been a bit better if you'd actually spent some more time playing it live before you went into the studio. Like,
definitely. I think,
but then it's a chicken and egg situation.
Yeah,
like.
It's definitely a discussion. We were so fresh and young, like we still are, obviously. But like,
how old are you guys?
We're the youngest is born in, so he's turning 21. Oldest is 25. So we're a group of young boys.
Yeah, youngsters.
When we first started, I mean, like the only thing we'd hear, was like, you guys are young. You guys need to grow a little bit. Grow a little bit. Grow a little bit.
I might have said something like that. Yeah.
I'm sure everyone did, and it was true. But luckily, there was such a need for this kind of music. People love this kind of music. Apparently, like Norwegian folk festivals need someone to play late at night.
Yeah, because there's hardly any other folk party acts. Like if you go to the Celtic scene, like it's super common. You have like tons and tons of bands who like do like party sets based on the Celtic music tradition.
Yeah.
But in Norway, they're basically like one or two maybe.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that we're definitely the heaviest. I think there are different possibilities. There are a bunch of good like late night bands, but anyway, there was a need for us and what we did. So we ended up playing quite a bit, which was great. And that way we could just like really breathe and just play. But at some point we realized that we should be on Spotify in some format because there's too many people who are asking about our music and just like really waiting to hear something. And we'd probably lose fan base or just like for people who listen to us. Fan base is the wrong word, but listeners. Like we'd lose listeners if we didn't
Looks like you have a fan base.
Wow, they're good friends. But we'd lose listeners if we didn't have something out. So we decided to go ahead with this EP called Tre danser, or Tree Dances, because it's funny because there's 3 tunes. They're all dance tunes, and our tree dance, Tre danser.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So it's a play on words. It's really stupid. Yeah, so we released that. Basically, because we love those tunes, we felt ready to release them and want to buy ourselves more time for the album.
Yeah.
So like we're still waiting with that because we want it to be good once it comes out. It's like we don't want to go into a studio, spend a bunch of money, and then come out of it with regrets. Like, I wish I could have another chance to record that song or something like that. You know. So we'll take our time with that. I'm really excited about that process because Tuva Sivertsen is going to produce, so she'll be along in the studio. I can't wait for that. It's also interesting to make an album like that to kind of have this focus on the entire project, like from start to finish, instead of every song from start to finish. Because with our EP, with only 3 tracks, and 2 of them singles, every single one of those tunes has to stand by themselves and be like a full product. It has to have the whole thing, dynamics and all that,
Yeah.
And so I think we did a pretty good job with that. With those 3 tunes, they are good by themselves, and they're probably good together too. But with an album, it's going to be different. We're like, we have this process, one at 10 in energy, and then we'll go down, and then we'll go up, and we won't go that far down. I can promise you that. But we will have to kind of like give a full project, and it'll be interesting. I look forward to it.
Yeah. No, brilliant. I'm curious, like, obviously you don't know the answer to this question yet either, but like how far this music could travel outside the hardcore folk music community, because I mean obviously the people here love you guys because it's so fun to see our music done in a like more in a different way, like, but like it seems to me that you have had the opportunity to play a bit outside the super niche folk circle.
Yeah.
How do people respond so far to the music?
Oh my gosh, it's interesting because we've only gotten great responses, to be honest. I mean, of course, some gigs are better than others, but like we've played student festivals outside of the folk scene and kind of gotten great feedback, you know. So we played at like a festival in Ås called Halvflaskefestivalen, student festival, new concept for up-and-coming artists.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like up-and-coming rappers and like sort of like russemusik and punk and all that, and they had folk rock.
Okay.
And we were the only artist there with no released music. Like, we were just like not on Spotify.
Yeah.
And people still showed up, and they made a podcast afterwards, and I think our band was probably the most mentioned artist there, which was really cool. So people like us outside because I mean, the folk music is unique, but it can be kind of hard to understand. So people we feel invited into it because it's so recognizable. We use these elements that they know and that they love, you know, like rock and roll and pop music and just stuff that's easy to dance to. So you kind of spoon feed them folk music and they love it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, we're not here to like necessarily invite more people into the folk music scene. We'd be happy to, but just spreading fun music. And so far it's been good. We also played Pride Festival with Tuvas Blodklubb, and that was a success for a varied audience. We're working at various gigs outside of the folk scene. I mean, we really want to make it outside of the folk music scene because the folk music scene is a great home base, but it's limited. It's not huge. It's especially not in Norway. There are lots of world music festivals and folk festivals around the world I'd love to play at, and we'd all love to travel to. But there's also big chances for us in rock and roll and metal and pop and all those, like, where we feel like we could fit in there, and we'd love to make that happen.
Because, I mean, sometimes it can feel like a challenge if you feel like your band or your act kind of falls in between different shares. Like, I've been involved in projects that are, like, not jazzy enough for the jazz festivals, but it's not folk enough for the folk festivals, and so then, like, where do you play? But it's also possible to see the flip side as well. Like, maybe you fit in both places if it's just presented correctly. I don't know.
I don't really know about all the gigs that we haven't gotten in a way, but I do know that we have gotten some gigs, and I think we'll continue to get some more. Like, it seems like the folk scene is definitely warming up to us. Like, we're getting more and more like.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it for next summer, like how that will work out for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. There's good Norwegian folk festivals that are interested in having a club evening, you know, and it's great for us. We'd love to. Yeah. So we the folk music scene is great. You don't get better dancers, at least.
No. Yeah, it's not often you see like people dancing Gangar and Masuka with like heavy beats like that. It's
something special about that.
Yeah.
It's really good to meet all these awesome musicians and people from the industry again. We met them in Göteborg, some of them at Nordic Folk Alliance. Met you there.
Yeah. It's a bunch of the same people you meet on these events.
We also met a lot of them at Womex in Portugal.
Yeah, you were there this year.
Yeah, I went there with the saxophone player Oscar. And we didn't have a showcase or anything, but we just kind of checked the vibe, you know.
Yeah. How'd you like that?
Oh, it's intense and huge, but I like that kind of stuff. I think it's interesting. I love connecting with.
Did you have a strategy coming in, like who you would like try to talk to and get to know, or did you just show up and go for it?
There's definitely people that I had emailed with that I wanted to meet face to face and kind of, you know, have a little chat. Well, we worked that out, and we'll probably land some gigs through those connections. But also just kind of like getting a feel for the scene, really connecting with Norwegians was important because like you travel abroad to meet Norwegians. That's a like typical Norwegian thing to do. Like they'll go to Italy and like they'll meet the other Norwegians there that also have their summer house.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're best friends. Like
yeah. Oh yeah, and then they we need to meet up when we are back in Norway, and you never see each other. But then next summer, like hey. So no, definitely got closer with the Norwegian delegation. Yeah, it was good. It was good fun. I look forward to being back. We'll definitely go back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great that like the whole world of world music or folk music or ethnic music or color, like it's becoming more and more of a big family. Like I really like that aspect of it, and that more people outside Scandinavia get to learn about our music as well.
Yeah, there's definitely interest. We just need to get out there.
It seems like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see a lot of Americans and Japanese people on Instagram playing Scandinavian music these days.
Yeah.
So
definitely
must be getting around.
Yeah, there's a guy I met in Los Angeles from Shanghai. No, from Singapore. Oh, I'm sorry. From Singapore, and he just asked me like, "Hey, my friend wants to start playing the Hardanger. Where can he get one?" I'm like, "Oh gosh, yeah."
In Singapore, yeah.
You might want to check forum for Hardanger and see you be able to ship it. So.
No, but that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I know you are off to play at the Cup Lake
very
soon, so I won't keep you all night or all day rather. Yeah, the day's only beginning, like.
Yeah, this is gonna be a long one.
But do you have more gigs this evening, or?
I'm playing at 10. I'm 20 past midnight. That's why I'm playing for dance. But that's just me solo. So.
Okay. Yeah, so no more with the band.
Nothing more with the band for now. Next weekend we are playing, however, though. But that will be. Wait.
3 days ago.
3 days ago, exactly.
Because we're in the future now.
We're in the future.
Yeah.
Our release concert was at Tuva's Broklubb, and it was a huge
it?
success. Man, I loved it. Oh wow! I stage dived for the first time.
Yeah.
Great.
You need Yeah. That's the one thing I kind of missed from yesterday's show, though.
That it's interesting because people like to have that. Like, they've quit with social distancing, but they do keep 1 meter away from the stage. There's always, like, this 1 meter in front of the audience at the stage. And I can't guarantee that I can jump that far.
No.
I need to get bouncy shoes.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing you crowd surf.
Oh, my gosh. It'll be good.
Okay, Mattias, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So obviously check out your new EP.
Yeah, check it out.
And hopefully the album will be out in not too long.
Yeah, it will be. It's coming.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All
and
right.
Follow us on Instagram and, TikTok and...
you're on TikTok?
Absolutely. We're nailing TikTok.
Really?
Yeah, we're getting tons of views.
Really?
It's because we just post dad jokes.
Do you have any like I really struggle with TikTok. I haven't figured it out. Like what do you have any advice?
Find something maybe slightly just something unique, but that is a part of your personality. Like, we tell so many bad jokes. So our thing was just like, our idea for TikTok was like, we have to get on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we do that? Well, okay, every time someone says a bad joke, someone flips up a camera and we repeat that joke and film it.
Okay.
And so we post jokes, and one of them even got 14,000 views.
Oh, really?
And we're planning
Must be a good joke.
Oh, no, it wasn't. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible.
But is that the only thing you do, like? So
yeah, we'll also post some music stuff and like let people know when there's releases, but they don't get that many views.
No.
But hopefully maybe a couple people get interested in our music. But mostly the jokes. We've also got a great, Christmas calendar coming up with Christmas jokes all month.
All right.
So don't watch that for your own good. It's horrible, really bad stuff. So good luck with finding something.
Yeah. I think my problem is like, does it have to be like funny? That's my problem. That's basically what you said. Like, you get the most views from the jokes, less from the music.
Yeah, definitely. I think posting music is kind of like, unless you're like super. You see musicians blowing up on TikTok do like these virtuose 15-second things, and like some people like to do that. I don't think that's necessarily the most fun thing in the world, just play 15-second clips. But I guess everyone has their own preference.
I think my problem is that I don't really like the idea, the concept of like you have to condense everything down to the shortest. Like, you have to make everything sensational, or
we're pandering to the shortening attention span of the young generation.
Yeah. So it's great that people still enjoy live concerts anyway. So that's the big that's a bright spot. Like,
absolutely,
people still have the attention span live when it happens.
Absolutely, and it's it's good to see that again. We were lucky with the timing of the COVID pandemic, to be honest, because for our band at least, I mean, it was horrible stuff, but we started our band like in the fall of 2020, which was like when it was locked down. So we kind of like had time to find repertoire and like work at it. When we were allowed to hang together 5 people, that worked out perfectly because we were 5 people in the band. So we'd get together and rehearse, and then finally when it opened up again, we were ready with a live show, and we kind of were prepared and knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Looking forward to the next pandemic.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I'm
excited.
Secretly, I am.
Oh there's some things I miss about it.
Oh, that's a lot I miss about it.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, maybe we shouldn't.
Let's
All right. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. I'll see you around. See you in the bar.
Yeah, definitely. I'm off there right now.
Okay. Take care.
You too.